You so much for coming tonight. I'm so excited to share not only my story, but these two ladies' amazing stories of their postpartum mental health journey and what they have found to help them and bring them back to enjoying motherhood again. So first off tonight, unfortunately, Carrie is not going to be able to join us. So if she invited you to the event, she is not feeling well. So we are not going to have her, unfortunately, but we're going to carry on and send our best wishes for her to feel better. First off, though, tonight we're going to have Lauren sharing. So Lauren, if you'll introduce yourself a little bit and then tell us your story.
I would love to. Hey, everybody. So my name is Lauren McCoy, and I am 33 years old. I know I look so much younger. And I live in West Virginia. My husband and I have two kids. Our son just turned 6, and our daughter is 3.5. And my husband is a middle school science teacher. So my mental health journey started a really long time ago. I struggled with anxiety and panic attacks as a teen and young adult. And then I started to look into gut health as like the root of that. And for a while, I found some probiotics that were kind of helping me along. It was doing enough. And I had started things like going to counseling and some other things to improve my mental health. And so I got to a pretty good place. And everything kind of changed when my daughter was born. After my son was born, I did not experience any kind of dips in my mental wellness. Like, I had the new mom mood swings and was tired, of course, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. But when my daughter was born, it really threw me for a loop because my mental health completely tanked. I was feeling depressed all the time. I was feeling anxious. And I had a really short fuse. I would get mad like that, like at the drop of a hat. Just little things that didn't used to bother me at all would set me off. And my kids had a very angry mom, and I did not like who I was in that season. And I even went through a season of experiencing suicidal thoughts, which for me was really especially scary because I typically am like this upbeat person, and maybe I was naive, but I just kind of felt like I was immune to that type of mental health challenge. But here I found myself really struggling, and I did everything in my own power to feel better. I started to Google back in like the summer of 2020 when we were all going through collectively all kinds of mental wellness challenges. I started to Google, postpartum, like what can I do to feel better? And I started using like essential oils. I got plenty of sunlight. I went outside every day. I went for walks. I exercised. I listened to praise and worship music because faith is a big part of my life. And nothing really helped me feel better. And so I struggled and struggled. And it got to be November of 2020. I went to my doctor and I said, my daughter is almost 2. I should still not feel this bad. And so they ran these tests on me. They did a full CBC. They checked my hormone levels and my thyroid, and they said, you are totally fine. We just need to get you on some prescriptions. Now, I was not totally fine. I was the opposite of fine. And I was definitely willing to use prescriptions, any kind of pharmaceuticals to get back to where I needed to be to show up for my family and to feel like myself again. But in that season, I had been down this holistic path for so long. I was like, I'm going to try one more thing before I turn to that, just so that I know in my gut that like I had tried my holistic options. Because I had heard about this mental wellness company called Amari Global. And I am like, can that really be that different from like other probiotics? But I thought, I did some research and it looked good. It looked legitimate. The science behind it made sense to me. And so I decided to try the products, and I stopped all other supplements so I could give them a true test. And I am not lying when I say to you, it was only the 3rd day, and I was making dinner for my family. And I realized I had not yelled at anybody all day. And it was like this catch-22 moment because I was so happy to have found something that was finally starting to make me feel better. But I felt like, oh my gosh, like I've been yelling at my family every day for the last almost 2 years. Like that's so miserable. Um, but my mental wellness continued to improve from that day on. It just got better with time. I experienced phased benefits. And it wasn't just the absence of depression or anxiety, it was like the presence of joy. I felt happy again. And I was doing things that I hadn't done in a really long time. Like you would find me singing in the shower for the first time in 2 or 3 years, much to my family's despair, because I am not the best singer. I was dancing in the kitchen while I was making dinner. And so these things started happening, and I just started to like be able to get on the floor and play with my kids and really enjoy that, living in the moment, experiencing more tender moments with my husband than I had been. And so I'm just telling you that if you're in a place where you feel like I have tried everything and I feel miserable, you deserve to feel better. And something that and you might be like, this is not that bad. I'm not that bad. I'm not like laying on the bathroom floor wondering if life is worth living like you were. And that's fine. But something my therapist says to me about other situations is this: you do not have to wait until your house is on fire to grab the fire extinguisher. Like if your house is engulfed in flames, it's kind of too late to grab the fire extinguisher and be like, let me put out this little kitchen fire, or I smell smoke, what's going on? If you smell smoke, or if there's a little kitchen fire, it's okay to go ahead and take care of that, and we can help you with that too. So personally, I highly recommend, if you're like, this sounds like pretty good, I want to try this stuff, Happy Juice is incredible. And we recommend bundling Mood with that, and Mentasync and Mentafocus. And we can talk more about specific recommendations for your the things that you're hoping supplements will help you with. But that is my story, and I just cannot share these products enough and say enough good things about them.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing that and just sharing all the different parts of it. I know you've had such a journey with things, and it's great to hear people's stories from different perspectives. So next we're going to have Sam, because she's got a little bit of a different postpartum story. So Sam, if you'll introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sam, mama four. My husband and I live in Greenville, South Carolina. And my postpartum journey is, well, after 4 kids, I feel like it changes each time. After our first, it was great. After my second, I was dealing with some depression, some just not feeling right, didn't really know what to do. So we decided to do nothing and then kind of just, tried food and prayer and all the things. And after a few years, kind of fell back to normal. So we decided, hey, let's have a third kid. And after my third is when we started with anger and like uncontrollable outburst of just feeling overstimulated all the time, and just feeling like there was too many needs and I was not capable to handle those. And so I had started looking into gut health supplements after my third. Saw some improvements, and then a few years had gone by and we were like, we should have a fourth baby because this is awesome. And like, maybe I won't have all these postpartum struggles anymore because now I'm using probiotics. And I was, thought we were doing all the right things. And then we had a fourth baby. And while her name means gift of God, and she surely is a gift, my postpartum was the worst after my fourth. That's when I was dealing not only with the anxiety, anger, not like worrying, but like anger, like just angry all the time for no reason, the littlest things. And just like Lauren said, I just found myself yelling so much more than I wanted to yell. But now it was like intrusive thoughts, and I wasn't sleeping. And then it became suicidal thoughts, and the house fire had overtaken. And it was at the point where I was like, throughout the day, I didn't think I was that bad until I realized, oh crap, it's bad. Like, we got to do something about this. And so I started counseling. I started doing, sauna therapy, cryotherapy, where you stick yourself in a machine that goes negative 212 degrees, and all these different things, Whole30 and diets and all these things. And I was already taking supplements, and I was sitting with my counselor, and I was like, I just don't think these things are working that well. I'm not really sure what's going on. And so she was like, well, just change them. Like, you don't have to keep taking stuff if it's not working, especially if you're spending so much money on it. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, I've been hearing about this company that does really great things for mental health, and maybe I should give, something else a try. And I was at the point where I was like, well, you got to do something, because what you're doing is not working. And I needed a change in my life. And so I said, okay, I'm going to stop all that I'm doing. I am going to try out these supplements from Amare. I started with a simple combo with a reboot. That reboot was so good for me. I did it again at 30 days and 60 days. If you're not sure where that is, don't worry. It's okay. We'll fill you in on the deets, but it is amazing. And I noticed, just like Lauren, very, very quickly, I know supplements can take some time, but I noticed right away after day 3, it was just like a fog had lifted. And I was just like, oh, I think I do feel something different. And then each week I noticed small, like consistent improvements, not only in me, but in my whole house. And one thing that I've always struggled with is migraines, and that I saw a huge decrease in my hormonal migraines. And that was, for me, such a game changer. But it was just the beauty of using these products, following all the recommendations. I noticed my anxiety was way, way down. I wasn't so angry. I wasn't so triggered by everything anymore. And this was during COVID. Like, this was during, and we lived in communist South Florida. And so it was very difficult times. And I was like, no stress. My stress was so down. Resilience was up. It was just a moment where I was like, there is something different here. And I am so, so glad I did not neglect that feeling of maybe I should try this out. I'm so glad that I took a step and said, I'm going to try this out because my mental health is worth it. Because as you know, as moms, everybody else's needs come first. And then mom is eating scraps off the kids' plates. And I was like, no more, because your health really does impact the atmosphere in your house. And that's what we had noticed. And it has been such a blessing for us. It has been a total game changer in the atmosphere of our house. And I'm forever grateful for these products and what they have done for my life, my kids, my husband, my family, all of us. So yeah, they're great.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I totally understand. And I love how you said how your therapist was like, if they're not working, you can try something else. Like, I think we get stuck in that routine of what we're doing. And that this is it, when it may have worked for us in the past, but it may not be what is best for us now. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle. I am a mom of 2, and I also live in West Virginia. And my postpartum mental health story started after my son was born. So he was born in April of 2020. So we all know what the world was like then. He was born early, he was born fast, and there was just a lot around it. And I went into that dark hole pretty early after he was born. I hit those baby blues and I never came out. And I was lucky enough that I had a friend that I kind of confided in, and she's like, Michelle, what you're going through is not normal. This is not just baby blues or anything. You need help. So I talked to my doctor, and she said, you're just out of your routine. Just once you get back in your routine, you'll be fine. Well, that weekend, it got to the point where I was literally crying in my daughter's room, holding my son, unable to go talk to anybody because I was just so anxiety ridden and I truly thought my family would be better off without me. I had plans of leaving. I thought about getting in a car and just driving away. And I knew that couldn't be healthy for anybody. So I called my doctor back and I said, look, I do need help. So I got on Zoloft and I got into therapy, and it got me out of that hole. I no longer felt like they'd be better off without me. And I was able to work through some birth trauma that I didn't realize I had, because I was under that impression that trauma had to be physical, and that's just not how it is. So fast forward to about 8 months postpartum, I was back at work. We were going through life. I had 2 under 2, and I just felt like I was constantly in that fog, and that just overwhelmed by everything. Planning meals was like running a marathon to me. It was very hard. So I went back to my doctor and I said, hey, can we check and just maybe my hormones are off? I don't know. I don't feel right. So we did all the labs and they all come back normal. And she said, well, you're already on the Zoloft and you're already in therapy. So there's really nothing else we can do for you. And I was like, well, I don't really like that answer. So I went searching. Like these other ladies, I knew about gut health. I was on probiotics. And so I was like, well, that's nothing new. But then I started learning about the gut-brain axis and how you really need to support that. And it's linked to mental health to get to your brain. And I went, okay, that makes sense. I heard about this company that was focused solely on the gut-brain axis. And I said, all right, so maybe I try it out. I told my husband about it. And I'm like, I'm thinking about trying it. And he looked at me and he said, Michelle, what do you have to lose? You don't like where you are. And I'm like, all right, if it doesn't work or if it gets worse, I stop. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? So I decided to give it a try. And I feel like my story is very similar to theirs in that even within a few days, I felt like a weight had just been lifted off of my shoulders. I felt lighter. And I felt like that fog was gone. I even had people at work that were like, what's different about you? Because they were used to them telling me something and I just would have to sit there for a minute and process because the brain was so fogged. And so that's when I knew that, these products were non-negotiable for us. I was sleeping better, even with getting woken up in the middle of the night. I was able to fall back asleep right when I got back in bed instead of the spiraling thoughts of, oh, well, I need to get this, or I need to go to sleep now so that I can sleep this long before I have to get up. All of it was gone. And I remember it was probably after about a month on the products, I was dancing around the living room with my kids. And I thought, I just had to step back for a minute. And I thought, wow, I've come a really long way. A month ago, if you would have told me I was going to do this, I probably wouldn't have believed you because it was just so different from what my house had been before. And I knew I wasn't going to go back from that point. So if any of these stories resonated with you, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. You can comment, you can message me directly. If you were invited to this event by one of these ladies or Carrie, you can ask them directly. They can answer any of your questions too. But we would love to help you and help you get to feeling the way that we feel. And if you were to enroll by Thursday night, you can get a free product credit worth up to $71 on your next order. So if you're ready to take control of your mental wellness or even your finances, because we do have things to help you with that too, this is the place for you. And we would love to help you. So thank you everybody for taking the time out to hang out with us tonight. And we hope everybody has a great Monday.